Hello and welcome back to Crafting My Way Happy. If you haven't been on the channel before, my name's Lisa and today I would like to teach you a new technique which is basically transferring an image of your choice onto air dry clay. On screen now is a list of items I used today. Please pause the video if you need to have a little bit more time to check what you need. Firstly, we're going to start off with the air dry clay. Now, I needed quite a bit for this project, so I had to end up splitting it into about 3 pieces. It just weren't going to get soft enough with it being that big. So, split it up and I started working on it. The air dry clay needs to be warmed up in your hands, just like you would have done as a child with Play-Doh. Once I had warmed up all the 3 pieces that I used of the air dry clay, I then put them all together to form just one huge ball of air dry clay. So you can see that I'm just rubbing it back and forward, just trying to get it all into a more manageable piece. Once I had that all together, it was time to get the rolling pin out. If you don't have a rolling pin, just improvise and use something similar. A glass bottle or a tube like what I have got works really well. Next, you'll need to decide on a template. I've done this heart and printed off the pictures that I wanted to go onto this heart. So I've made the pictures to the actual size. It's best to have the template ready before you actually start rolling out I was going to say pastry then, before you start rolling out the air dry clay. That way you can ensure that you have got enough. So I rolled this out to about 1/2 centimetre of thickness. I used the 2 items either side just as a guide to give me the thickness. As you can see, they're not long enough for this really, but it's the only thing I had, so it had to work. Once I had the desired thickness, I then took my template and just popped it on top of the air dry clay. I then used a knife to just go around the template. Just take your time with this because you don't really want to mess it up. If you do, it can be rectified by just rolling up the clay again, but just take your time and you should be absolutely fine. So once I've removed the excess clay, I'll just pull it to one side because I was actually making 2 of these. Once you have removed all the excess, then it's time to get the water out. So just grab some water, put it on your fingers and just rub around the edges of the heart or whatever template you decided to make. Just remember, the more time you take on this and getting it smoother, the less work you have to do when it comes to sanding it. So just take your time and go around it and enjoy the process really. When I was happy with the edges and I thought I couldn't smooth them down anymore, the next step to take is to get a little bit of water again onto your fingers and just pull it onto top of your piece of air dry clay. So I'd already picked out the pictures that I wanted to use and I'd printed them out on my inkjet printer. So make sure you do that and make sure they're actually to scale, as you don't want them too big or too small. These are printed on black and white because it was the effect that I was going for. I've not actually tried it on colour print and yet, but that'll be a must for another time. So I'm just laying it on top, face downwards, and just rubbing it very, very lightly. So I'm not rubbing it to get any dents in. Once I was happy with it, I just put it to one side because you only need to leave this on for about 20 minutes, half an hour, depending on the warmth and how the pictures actually come off. I put the other hearts on one side, and this was actually the second one that I was doing. So just again going round with the water and making sure it's all nice and soft and smooth. I then had to put some holes into the hearts. This one I actually did too because I planned on putting something underneath it, so it would need a hole to dangle from that. The other one I forgot to show you, but I only put one hole in. You can get these little tools from like Amazon, and they're just like, well, you could use a straw to be honest with you, but these come in like a set of different sizes, and just literally push them down and twist, and that's it. So the second hole I hadn't actually decided at this point in time. It was a later addition, so you're only seeing me with one hole on this part, but there will be two. So after I'd finished doing the one hole, it was just a quick check up around the sides once again, making sure that I was happy with everything, and then taking a bit more water and just going over the top of the air dry clay. Once again, I had already picked the picture that I wanted to do, and it was another black and white. Also, just make sure that you put it on high quality when you print these. And if your printer has been idle for a little while, it's best to do a couple. Mine had been, and the first one picture, it came out quite streaky. So just bear that in mind as well. So the other thing I forgot to mention is if you decide to print words as well, you do need to make sure that it's on a mirrored mode, because if not, everything's going to be back to front. Just like the last heart, I carefully added the picture face down onto the air dry clay, and again left this to dry, and it took about the same amount of time. So after the time was up of, I think it was about 30 minutes, and this is what it came out like. So I was very, very careful to pull this back, and some of the paper did actually get stuck to the air dried clay. However, I wasn't really that bothered. I knew I could get it off, so just carefully pull it back. Also, what I would say as well is if some of the ink hasn't transferred correctly or not enough, then add a little bit more water and then pull it back down and leave it to dry once again, and then go back. So it's just very carefully using a toothpick just to pull off a few bits of the attached paper that wasn't willing to come off. I was getting so excited when I see the image starting to come through. I couldn't wait to get it all off. How is everybody doing today? I've had a bit of a better week than I did last week, hence why I've just managed to get this video together. I'm also thinking of adding some more other crafts videos. Is there anything that you guys would like me to do? Do you have anything that you want to learn craft wise? As long as it's not knitting or crochet, because I am absolutely rubbish. I don't know how many times I've tried, but nah, my brain just, it don't sink in at all. I mean, I already get brain fog as it is with my condition. The You won't believe the amount of times that I'm doing a voiceover and have to delete it. Some of them are right corkers, I'll tell you that. If there is any craft that you would like to learn, then just leave me a comment and I will do my best to get it on the channel. It could be anything from resin or shabby chic or decoupage or needle felting. So that's just a few examples, but yeah, leave me a message and I will see what I can do. Right, back to the video. So again, I'm just using a toothpick just to get that piece off. Oh, it felt so satisfying just to pull that off. But you can see it's still a little bit stuck, but it will come off. I did also just use my fingers and started to rub it off. That seemed to work quite well. As you can see, it's coming off bit by bit, but it just takes time, that's all. When I finally got off as much as I could, you could really sort of see the picture coming through. However, there was an area that I wasn't very happy with, and I thought I'm going to have to reprint another picture because I'm not going to be able to get that on. However, luckily, the piece that I wanted had stayed intact. So I was able to use that piece once again, but it was a little bit tricky. So as you can see, this was the piece. And it's just like, well, it's worse than a jigsaw actually. But slowly just manoeuvred it and tallied up with the picture and pull it down. Then obviously added a little bit more water and left it to dry again and went back to it, and I was more happy with the results. I think I've actually mentioned before that I am a bit of a perfectionist to the point that I overdo it. So don't necessarily do what I did. Right, so here's the second unveil. And again, just like the first one, slowly does it. And I'm just checking that I'm happy with the print, which I don't think I was. So I did decide to pull it back down and add some more water just to the top of it. That seemed to work really well. So I did also check the other areas of the picture as well, because I didn't want to lift up other bits and it not have taken in them bits and then I have to leave it again. So yeah, to save the headache, I just used a toothpick very gently and lifted up to see if it needed a little bit more water for the transfer to work. So this was when I actually decided to add the second hole to the bottom. I then left both the hearts, once the picture was removed, to dry for, I think it was about 3 days in total, with the thickness of these, etc. I wanted to make sure that they were completely dry. So once they were finally dry, I just went around them with what I call the nail file. It does help me a lot in my hands, but you can use whatever kind of sandpaper, etc., that you want to use, but this just works for me. When all the sanding was done and I was happy with it, I had to decide what colour I was going to use for the clay that was not touched by the ink. So I wanted to give these a bit of a cloud or like a heaven feeling. Unfortunately, the person these were going to had lost their dad and their granddad, so this was something that I had made for them. So I ended up using a white acrylic paint and I was just dabbing it on, as you can see, with the paintbrush, And then I also used, it was slightly off white as well. I was going, it was like a marbly cloud effect kind of thing. And I was just putting it on. In the end, I got a dabber as well, like a sponge dabber, you'll see in a minute, and went in with that as well. So as I was painting and dabbing away, I did look at it and I thought it looks off balance. Being an ex-hairdresser, I'm very much aware of balance and the way things should look. So what I ended up doing is I added a little bit more of the acrylic paint, just around the edges, and more of it where the person's arm goes sort of up into the air, and that just gave it a nicer, softer, more balanced feeling to it. But you'll see what I mean. Also, I wanted to add the name Dad to this as well, so it gave me an opportunity to get a bit more room at the bottom and be able to add Dad to that. But again, you'll see that soon. So you can see it, how it's starting to build up, and the image is starting to make its way actually a part of the sort of background. So there's like no harshness around it at all. Just like a memory, how it should be. So he also started to use my finger because I found it gave it a bit more control and more of an effect. After I was happy the way it looked, I just put it to one side to let it dry. And this is what it looks like so far. What do you think? I then went on to do the second one. So this is the Grandad one. And I decided to do the same sort of technique. So I'll speed this up because I don't think you need to see it twice. So with the Grandad one, as you can see, there are a pair of angel wings at the bottom. So I wanted to tie in the gold that was on these angel wings, with the actual heart of her granddad. So if you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Robin Buff. So guess what I used? Yes, Robin Buff once again. However, at first I wasn't getting the desired effect, so I ended up putting some actually onto my finger again and just dabbing it and rubbing it because it wasn't working with the sort of dabber, and I found this worked better. And then I actually did around the sort of heart. I'm sorry, the camera angle isn't the best. So, but as you can see, it's sort of just around the tops and the corners, which gives it that sort of aged kind of effect. And that worked really well. Once I was finished with the rubbing buff and I was happy the way it looked, I just left it to the side to dry. Once it was fully dry, I used the J Diction gloss sealer and I gave it 2 lots of that, and then it was ready to put the string in. So these are the end ones that I did, and I was really happy with how they turned out. What do you think, guys? I really hope that you enjoyed today's video and you will give it a go yourself. Please, if you could, like, share, subscribe, comment, let me see your pictures of what you've made. That would be fantastic. But apart from that, I hope you all have a fab week, and I hope you'll join me next week for another crafting challenge. Bye.